What would you do if you found out your husband was impotent on your wedding night, after dating him for 3 years and keeping the bed undefiled? Janet thought her pain was behind her. Instead, she ended up lying in a pool of blood, pretending to be dead, just to survive the wrath of the perfect man she married. Janet was 30, blonde, and extremely beautiful. She was a divorcee when she met Adam, a survivor of a brutal, physically abusive marriage. She came out of it in pieces, fragile, silent, scared to trust again. But Adam was different. He was a youth pastor, calm, composed, handsome, and God-fearing. He never raised his voice. He listened, he prayed, and he loved everyone. And for the first time in years, Janet felt safe. He would leave flowers on her door after the service, text her verses from the Psalms when she couldn't sleep. He was gentle, patient, tender, kind to children, and always brought cookies for them during service. The kids adored him, which made Janet even more convinced about giving love a chance. After some time, Janet agreed to date Adams. He was the happiest, and he believed it was a kingdom arrangement by God. They went on dates, saw movies together, and even studied the Bible effectively, but the one thing he wouldn't do was touch her. "You're special," he'd whisper. "Your body is a temple. I want to do things right." Adam always said that whenever Janet wanted intimacy, she was amazed but shocked because she had never been with a man who respected her body. She thought maybe this was what love looked like. She prayed for him each night and thanked God for finally blessing her with the right one. But even perfection has shadows. It wasn't long before Janet began to notice things about Adam. Subtle at first. Adam didn't like her talking to male friends. He'd grip her arm a little too tightly in public whenever any man was approaching her. One day, she saw him punch a man in the street, just for asking her for directions. Was he supposed to hit another? Wasn't it a sin? He wouldn't have premarital sex, but would inflict pain on a flesh. She confronted him that day, and he was defensive as expected. He said he was protecting her, that God made men to lead. She told him a man was innocent and was only asking for directions, but Adams insisted he caught the man staring at her, but in making gestures. Janet saw reasons with him, and even thanked him for standing up for her. She brushed it off as passion. She told herself it was love. Until one night, after she tried to initiate intimacy, Adam snapped. "Don't tempt me," he said. "I'm not like other men." Janet didn't know it yet, but that sentence? It wasn't about purity. It was a warning. She felt he was just resisting temptation, but it was deeper than she thought. She apologized again. Their wedding day finally came, after 3 years of courtship. Janet was the happiest and the most eager for what came with the wedding night. She had shaved and ensured she wore her finest underwear. The wedding was beautiful, a holy celebration. Prayers, praise songs, and tears of joy. But when the doors of their honeymoon suite closed behind them, a different kind of silence fell. Janet waited, dressed in lace, nervous, excited. The room was dressed with petals and scented candles. The room was dimly lit, but Adam was nowhere to be found. The clock kept ticking, and it was already 12 a.m., but Adam didn't show up. She called him, and he said he was praying and he would be with her shortly. She thought it was odd because they had fasted and prayed prior to that day, but she was still willing to wait. The sound of the doorknob was what woke her up from sleep. Her hope was alive, but she didn't question him. She didn't want any form of argument to ruin that special night. She waited in the duvet looking at him in an inviting way, waiting for him to make the first move, but Adam didn't touch her. He just sat on the bed, blank, heavy. Then he said it. "There's something I need to tell you," Adam said in a calm tone, and Janet sat up slowly. "What is that?" she asked. "I can't perform. I'm impotent." Janet blinked. At first, she thought it was a joke, some kind of test. But then he reached for the Bible on the table. "Swear to me, on God's word, that you'll never cheat on me, never leave, even if I can never give you what you want." "What are you even saying?" Janet said with hot tears dripping from her eyes. "Just swear that you would stay in this marriage and not share a bed with another man." Adam continued in a harsh tone. She was disappointed and too shocked to speak. Once again, she had been betrayed. She had judged a book by its cover and had fallen into a trap. She no longer saw love in his eyes, but possession and selfishness. Her burning desire for intimacy, to have kids, and to multiply all came crashing down. What would people say? She thought about it. She would be labeled as a girl who couldn't stay in a marriage, trapped between shame and love, guilt and confusion, she swore. And with that, her wedding night ended, not in passion, but in fear and regret. Janet always forced a smile in public, even though her heart was burning. She kept the secret from her friends, her family, herself. But the silence started to bleed through, and it began to look like stupidity. Adam became obsessive, paranoid. He installed a tracker on her phone, accused her of cheating when she stayed late at work. He called it spiritual warfare. But to Janet, it felt like being buried alive. She longed for touch, for intimacy, for choice. But all she got was control, false accusations, and being downplayed. One night, her eyes opened. Adam came home, oozing with alcohol. She was shocked and confronted him, but he raised his hand and slapped her. Not once, not twice, but many times. Afflictions will not arise a second time, Janet said to herself. The main reason she left her first marriage was because of physical abuse. Now it was recurring and even worse. She was ready to face the world, not mind the stigmatization. This isn't what God wanted. This isn't love. So she wrote a note, packed a bag, and that night, she left. She barely made it 2 streets away when she heard screeching tires. She looked through the rearview mirror and saw Adam's car almost overtaking hers. Her heart began beating heavily. Fear engulfed her, and she became sweaty. He is a beast, not the man I thought I fell in love with. Adam had followed her, eyes wild, shirt unbuttoned with a chain that carried the sign of the cross visible on his chest. He overtook her, and he stepped out of the car holding the Bible. "You lied. You took a vow not to leave," he screamed. "You broke your vow before God." She was panting heavily, and she could feel her blood pressure spiking up. She tried to run, but he dragged her into the car. She tried to fight back, flapping her hands, but it was fruitless. He punched her heavily in her stomach, and she screamed. The street was lonely with no cars in sight. She feared for the worst. "Don't harm me, Adam. I beg you in God's name," she pleaded, holding him by his pants. But he kicked her hands instead. He reached into the glove box and pulled out a sharpened crucifix, a wooden cross filed to a point. "If I can't have you," he hissed, "no one will." "No, no, no," Janet cried bitterly. Her eyes popped open as he stabbed her without thinking twice. In the stomach. Hard. Fast. Twice. Then she slumped, holding her stomach and trying to speak. But words failed her. Adam had sadness in his eyes while he watched her die slowly. "You made me do this. The consequences for disobedience are death. It's in the law. You know the law," he said, scratching his hair like a psychopath that he was. Believing she was dead, Adam took her into the car and drove off. Unknown to him, her cell phone had slipped into the car from her pocket. But Janet wasn't dead. After he disposed of her with her last strength, she crawled out of the bush where Adam left her to rot. She dragged herself across the road, collapsed on the road where a truck driver found her almost getting cold. She was barely breathing, covered in blood, eyes swollen shut. Before passing out, she whispered, "My husband, Pastor Adam, tried to kill me." The next day was Sunday, and Adam was busy preaching when some police officers stormed the church. He was arrested mid-sermon, Bible in one hand, mic in the other. They asked him about his wife, and he told the officers she had run away with another man, that she was possessed, that she betrayed their sacred bond. But evidence told a different story. Blood in his car, her fingerprints on the crucifix, GPS tracking her route, mirroring his, and his browser history, how to dispose of a body without getting caught. In court, Adam dropped his mask. He admitted the impotence, but not as a curse, as a choice. "Women are dangerous," he said. "My mother destroyed my father. This was my vow, to keep them holy, even if it meant pain." Janet wasn't his first victim, just the first to fight back. Adam was sentenced to 28 years without parole for attempted murder, coercive control, and spiritual abuse. Janet? She walked out of that courtroom with a scar on her stomach, but fire in her voice. Today, she runs workshops for survivors of religious gaslighting and toxic faith. He used God's name to silence me. to shame me, to hurt me. But I lived, and now I speak.